Petojo, welcome on or welcome back, depending on how you look at it.
Quite a different setting.
Yeah, dude. So the first time we tried to do this, which by the way, people still fucking loved. Apparently you can swear on this podcast.
Oh, yeah?
Apparently so, because I just did it.
Don't
and
watch
I make the
Mama.
rules. Yeah, so the first time we did it, people loved it, but you had failure to launch of your microphone and headphones for most of that.
Oh, tell me about it. This is a bit better, just slightly better than what I've got here.
Subsequently, I realized that perhaps that wasn't you, though. Because I did one with Rico, and I don't think I've even told him this, because I haven't put it up on YouTube, but like 30 minutes of our conversation, there's no audio coming from him.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so either I just choose the wrong guest, or there's something wrong with the platform. I don't know.
I definitely think it's the latter.
So then I thought, let's just do it properly.
This is dope, man.
It is cool, right?
This is really, really cool. It feels so professional.
I know, dude. Jesse has put together a really cool place here. Very, very cool.
No, I'm looking forward to this.
Makes me feel special and like I'm a professional.
It makes me feel like I need to know what I'm talking about.
Do I look like Joe Rogan?
A bit bigger, but
Bring me some bulletproof coffee. What's that shit called? It's not bulletproof coffee. Black Rifle Coffee.
awesome shrooms.
Sponsor me.
Or do
Awesome shrooms, yeah.
You know.
That's
what
for
he's
home
about.
time. So, bro, I view this as like our podcast.
Let's do it.
Now, maybe you're not on it all the time, but I would like you to be. So let's just see how we go here. I'm planning on like 2 episodes per month
Okay,
because that seems doable for me.
that's doable for me too.
Right. And I mean, clearly it's going to be bodybuilding related, but I also just want to get on people that I find interesting,
Okay,
you know,
I tend to be an interesting guy.
and somebody like you who is both. You're both a bodybuilder and somebody interesting. So
No, dude,
you
I
tick
think-
both the boxes.
I think this is going to work. I think more than anything, our friendship is going to make this very, very easy. I feel very relaxed, very comfortable. So, yeah.
Well, another specific reason why I invited you on is because you make me seem more approachable.
Oh,
Because you're my friend.
Because you spoke about your resting bitch face.
I was going to mention that, yes.
Yeah, he's actually really friendly, guys. He's actually really friendly. I also had my fears. Like I said, bumped into each other like 2019. I didn't say hi or anything because I just thought you were a monstrous human with these gigantic calves. And I was like, nope, I'm not ready for this yet. So
And in the background, I was just like, oh, man, I wish this guy would ask me to coach him. Why isn't he asking me to coach him?
it hasn't taken long. I mean, 4 years, you know.
Oh, 4 years. Yeah, that's not a long wait at all. You'd be pro by now.
Hey, let's hope it's not too far away.
It's definitely not. So that's kind of what I wanted to speak about, because the last time we spoke was, I think, just kind of the beginning of your off season.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. So now that you're in it, because I mean, we're a good few months into it now. It's
Yeah,
like
5 months.
5 months into it.
5-ish
And
months.
how many kilograms later?
16. We clocked. We peaked at like 16 kilos.
16. So you're at like, your peak was about 90.
Yeah, 90.2 to be exact. Don't
Have
leave
you
out
ever
the
seen that
0.2.
before?
Don't leave out the 0.2 because
Don't
it
leave it.
matters. It cements that 90. Okay.
Well, the 0.2 could be the difference between a win or a loss.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we only want wins here. We only want wins.
So how has it been, like, generally speaking, if you're looking back now, because we never really did a full off season together.
No, this is the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, when I joined you, I was sort of finding my feet because I wasn't really regimented. I was sort of doing my own thing for quite a while. So it's really been our first true off season. We've seen a lot of results already, I'd like to think. And
Yeah,
I
dude.
think I'd like to think. But also I know what the standard is and I know what I need to do to reach the next level. So I just want to keep pushing and pushing and pushing until I feel like I'm good enough. You know?
Do you think that point will ever come, that you will feel like you're good enough?
Good enough to compete at a high level. Good enough for myself? Never.
Yeah.
Nah, I've got childhood trauma, bro. I don't. No, but really, it's a pursuit where it's a never-ending pursuit for greatness and perfection, knowing very well you're never going to get there. But I want to be really, really good so that I don't question myself going into a show or anything like that. Kind of like this past competition season.
But I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think you're ever going to not question yourself. Luke Miller, who's one of my mentors, we were having a call 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And he was saying you get like 2 kinds of athletes. You get those that never think they're good enough, and you get the ones that think they're better than they are. And I would always want to have the ones that don't think that they're good enough.
It's, you know, that thing of thinking you're well ahead of where you actually are. It's so mind blowing to me, because we see that with the internet these days and social media, bodybuilding without borders, and who's the best bodybuilder. I mean, the whole social media landscape right now shows you what the standard is. So I think you can look in the mirror and be like, I look like an amateur athlete. I look like a pro athlete. But to have that twisted and try and sell yourself something different takes a unique type of person.
In a way, I can I can definitely understand it in the reverse, because it's so apparent to me that particularly people that are within the bodybuilding industry tend to be a lot harder on themselves. I know for myself, I don't have a good perception of my physique in prep. When I'm looking my best, I always don't think I look good. And when I look back on it, I'm like, damn, I look good. But you don't realize it at the time. So I can kind of understand it in reverse.
Yeah.
I don't know how people get to kind of overvaluing where they are. I don't understand that, but I do definitely understand the inverse. So broad picture here.
Yeah.
Off-season prep, what's been harder?
That is a tricky question, because
It's a good question.
I'm very chilled in prep.
You are.
Yeah, well, our prep is really, really seamless. Like, I couldn't have asked for a smoother prep. I mean, it's our first prep together. Everything went according to plan. We hit our numbers when we were supposed to hit them. You pushed when you were supposed to push. We dialed it back when we were supposed to dial it back. And everything literally panned out 100% the way we wanted to. Even to not having wine the night before the show. Thank you very much.
Well, it worked, didn't it? I mean, come on.
It really did. I was looking at the pictures the other day. I was like, damn, he's good. Damn, he's good.
You know, I changed that a little bit, because, you know, the alcohol would always be used as kind of like a natural diuretic.
Yeah.
But we started playing around with manipulating sodium and fluid timing to initiate natural diuresis. And to be fair, the only reason why I didn't include the wine or vodka or whatever the case was just because at that stage, we hadn't tested it yet. So I didn't want both variables in place. We had tested the sodium and fluid manipulation. We hadn't tested both at the same time. And I knew that the one variable worked, so we just kept that in. Having said that, I've now tested both at the same time, and actually ran it with Bianca this last weekend at the Ben Weeder, and it worked really, really, really well.
Okay.
Dude, funny story. So she was so psyched on how she was doing and like how her physique had developed since her pro card win.
Yeah.
And because she competed on the Friday, on Thursday, someone made a comment to her about she's looking a little bit bloated. Now, I knew, and I communicated to her, like, you're looking bloated because I've pushed your water up significantly today, alongside pushing up your sodium, because we're going to pull that early, and you're going to lose a lot of water overnight, and you're going to like wake up, you know, really hard. We've tried this. Remember when we did that last week?
Yeah.
And dude, she like, just that comment like made her lose her mind. She was really, really worried.
Yeah.
Man, did she wake up looking amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
Because even Day and Nash, you know, they spoke about the fact that they loaded it very early and almost spilled, and then you get to tighten up significantly just in time for the show. So, you know, your methodologies work. I think going back to the root question in terms of like prep and the off season, your methods work.
Thanks for bringing me back.
So, I think for me, the off season I've enjoyed because it's been a challenge for me to handle the responsibility of my food. Because obviously, I always say I'm like the unsullied. Like, point me in a direction and I'll go there. But I definitely needed a lot of help in terms of guidance of you need to track for yourself. You need to make sure you're eating a variety of foods, stay comfortable, to make this off season as comfortable as possible so you don't feel like you're prepping for a year or a year and a half or whatever. So the off season, I'd say, has been the biggest challenge. You know, chafing thighs, sweaty, shortness of breath sometimes. Like all these things that come with getting bigger that I've never experienced before for the most part.
Do you get like an elevated heart rate for a prolonged period of time after a meal?
I haven't actually tracked that.
I find like when I get to the point, I'm at that point now. Now remember, I've been in an off season for like 15 months.
Yeah, you've been going.
Yeah.
You've been going.
So now like after a big meal, there's like, you know, more time for digestion. And it's like I can feel from my heart rate how much food I'm digesting.
Dude, food is not easy. Like everyone thinks, oh, you get to eat so many calories. I don't enjoy eating that many. I think my sweet spot would be like 3,000 tops. Like 3,000 is comfortable. I can have all my, like my main meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, have my pre-bedtime snack and my pre-workout meal, and everything's like comfortable. You know, as soon as you're ranking like 3.6, I was like stuffed, like 120 grams of oats, and I'm sitting there like eating it in portions. You know, eating it across like 3 meetings or something because I just need to let it settle, you know? So yeah, definitely the off season was tougher for me.
Dude, those are the two things that people don't understand until they've gone through it. It's like we are at all times, apart from maybe very short periods of time, living in extremes.
Yeah.
And both can be equally uncomfortable.
100%.
Like massing and truly committing to an off season, not the off season, or like, let me say, truly committing to an improvement season is not the, hey, I'm going to eat what I want when I want and I can eat a pizza every now and then. It's like, as to a certain extent, as regimented as a prep, at least in terms of, in the opposite way, in terms of always making sure that you're consuming enough.
Yeah.
At the right time and of the right macronutrients. The other thing that people don't get about it is that, kind of like what I said now, it's not an excuse to just eat all the great foods that you didn't during prep. It's like, for the most part, yes, there obviously is a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you're just going to be eating larger portions,
high volumes of clean foods
of what you ate before.
Yeah.
You know, and I think when I see people going down the road of too much junk, because I mean, as I've told you, and one of the reasons why I wanted you to track is like include variety, have foods that you couldn't have during prep, so that you don't enter your next prep feeling deprived. I don't want people to feel deprived, but when it goes too far in the opposite direction, you get, you know, 2 months, 3 months into an improvement phase, and you have to do like fat loss triage because there's just been too much fat gain straight out the bat. Exactly. And then you start getting GI distress and a whole bunch of other stuff, which just doesn't make building muscle efficient. 100%. You know?
And I think one of the things that come with that is that I know, you know, I study thermodynamics. So energy in is energy out, right? But body composition matters. And just by having clean foods, especially with your digestion, the body looks completely different. You know, I've tried dirty bulking before. Yeah. Pretty much, I've been training for over 10 years now. Majority of that time, I was spending my time in the off season. Yeah. Off. Yeah. Like any tracking and everything like that. And then I'd pig out and then, you know, gain all this fat. And then when it's time to come down again, I have to suffer to get really down. You lose muscle along the way. You just don't look your best, you know. So I think people may think that, you know, the off season or the improvement season, by the way, the change in that language is very significant, because when you say it's an off season, you tend to, you know, be a lot more lenient. You're like, I'm off this journey. But when it
sounds like you're not bodybuilding anymore.
Exactly.
And it's like, the complete opposite is true. That's when you're really bodybuilding.
Exactly. That's when you build,
because you're not building in prep. Yeah.
Like that's when the real magic happens. Like, yes, on prep you get to see the lines come out, you get to see all of that, but in the off season, that's where the magic happens. Or the improvement season, that's where the magic happens. So just you changing that language and reminding me that, listen, we're not off anything. Like, we're not off our endeavor. We're not switched off from what we want to achieve and what work needs to be done. We're improving everything that wasn't good enough the last time around. And we're making sure by the time we need to cut everything down again and, you know, get back on stage, we're going to be much better than where we were the first time around. So it's very important to change that language and make sure you understand what it means.
Yeah. The hardest thing for me is actually the mental shift, where prep is hard and you're hungry and you're tired.
Yeah.
but you also know what to expect, and you also know when it's over.
Yes.
You do have a date in mind. So when you're checking in with me, it's like, okay, 8 weeks out, 7 weeks out, 6 weeks out. And when it starts getting really tough, like for most athletes that are reasonably experienced, I'm not talking about, oh, I'm getting hungry during the day. I'm talking about like actual depletion at like maybe 5, 6 weeks out.
Suffering.
Yeah, it makes it easier to know, well, I'm almost there. It's 6 weeks to go, 100%. You know? Whereas in a massing phase, it's difficult because there isn't necessarily a goal date. And you also don't have that really positive reinforcement every week of seeing those visual changes. 100%, like visual changes are going to be slow to come by. Yeah. And when you do see them, sometimes it's not like really the visual changes that you want to be seeing, you know?
Like a soft belly.
Yeah. Yeah, like I can tell you, well, listen, the frame of reference that I have, like, is being myself, is like you're in a great position because you still look awesome. You can see how much muscle you've put on.
Yeah.
For me, you can't even see how much muscle I've put on. I just look like I've put on fat.
Yeah, but that's because you see yourself the way you see yourself, and we see you very differently. You know? The whole body dysmorphia thing is ever prevalent in this endeavor. You know, we always think we look worse than we look. Well, it pretty much goes right back to where we started. Yeah. You know, the ones who want to strive for better always think they're not there. But I remember seeing you walk out of your house in like shorts and oversized tee, and I was like, looks like there's 2 of them. You know, so that's really, you know, we see that progress, you know, people looking at you, and hopefully the people around you see that as well. Just because I think sometimes we need that reminder that we're on the right track. Yeah. So how have you dealt with kind of seeing those physical changes? My ass is fat, Matt. Look, I think I've dealt with it pretty okay. I've enjoyed what there is to enjoy and ignored everything that I don't like about it. Mm-hmm. So, like, for instance, not having deep separated abs, I couldn't be bothered. You know, only my wife has to see that, so I'm not stressed. You know, also filling out my clothes is really great now because that is fun. When you're on prep, dude, all of my clothes were baggy, from mediums, you know, all the like mediums and larges were super baggy on me, and now I'm fitting comfortably into larges. So I'm very, very happy with that. You know, having more presence about yourself is always really good, because it creates also, not that it matters much to me, but I see in how people treat me, is that when you have more presence about you, people for some reason treat you differently, and you know you own a space. Yeah. You know, so I've enjoyed that part of it. I haven't enjoyed, like I said, my ass is so big, bro. And remember during prep, I was convinced that my ass is getting too big. Yeah. When actually it's just where I put on fat the most. It's where I'm predisposed. So, you know, things like that. You also, it's hard to see like improvements in those body parts that we want to build. So I haven't seen much in my hamstrings, but I may see it when we get lean.
Dude, that's the thing. This is like, I say to a lot of my clients that are in improvement season now, this is the ultimate test of like delayed gratification patience, because you're going to see the fruits of your labor, like not when the improvement season ends, but at the end of the next fat loss phase. That's when you're going to see it. Exactly. You know, and it's so difficult to just trust in that, you know? So for me, I try and take all my focus away from visual changes.
Oh yeah?
When I take my check-in pictures now, I don't even look at them. Same. I'm just like, they're on my phone. I transfer them to my computer and I upload them to my coach, but I don't look at them. Yeah. And I only take his feedback in terms of where we are and if we need to pull back or go harder. I don't look at the pictures, and then I delete them as soon as I've taken them, because all that I have control over is executing the plan and then focusing on what I'm doing in the gym. So if I see my numbers moving up, I'm like, okay, cool. that's going according to plan. If my coach says everything is looking good, we're happy with the body composition, then I'm happy with the body composition.
You know, and you're not just saying that, because I think a lot of people think that just because you're in the sport and you're a coach and you've prepped and all of this, you immediately understand what it's like to not feel good about yourself. Like everyone, I mean, you know, you don't get what it's like to feel, you know, insecure or uncomfortable or, you know, not looking your best. They're like, no, but Matt's big. You know, they see it from the outside, you know, but don't see that, you know, I'm used to looking a certain way as well. And I really enjoy looking that other way. And, you know, the way people treat you when you're lean as well is very different. Well, everyone's like keen to see your physique and all of that. So,
oh my God, bro, you look so good. You're going to win your show. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get all that external validation, you get internal validation. And then when it's in the off season, you have to now be like, listen, this is just part of the process. And it's been really good to see the internet also showcasing more of that mental shift that's needed. You know, people need to understand that this is just part of the game. It's part of the process. You know, deal with what you can deal with. You know, don't look at your pictures if it means it's going to negatively affect you. You know, take your coach's feedback as the word and the gospel and run with it, sweet warrior.
Was it, I think you were actually mentioning something about this. It was you. It was definitely a client of mine that I'm friends with. So it's a very good chance that it's you.
Hello.
But it was something about Samson, not even his wife would look at the scale when you stand on the scale.
Yes. Yeah, Samson hates looking on prep, right? Because he comes from like 300 odd pounds in the off season and then comes down. And I remember in, not his first prep with Milos, but like not now when he blew up the year before.
Yeah.
He was really, like the number on the scale really messed with his head. So he'd literally step on the scale, you know, look away. His missus would, you know, document everything. He'd get off, put it away, and then she'd send the feedback to Milos and they'd make plans accordingly. And then only closer to the show date, they'd then, you know, be on the scale and manipulate as you did at my show.
Yeah.
Manipulate what we need to do based on that input.
Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that I still have those kind of little mental tics and insecurities, and are, you know, finding ways to work around them. I think I was actually speaking to Jesse when I was first here about like, is it important for a coach to still be competing? And I don't think it's like super important, but I think it's important to stay relevant. And that's one of the examples of how do my clients feel?
Yes.
You know, when somebody says that to me, how seriously do I take that? I'm like, oh, don't be silly, man. Just take your check-in pictures. It's not a big deal. You're in the off season. But yes, logically that's true, but you know how that person feels.
Exactly.
You know,
and you can provide perspective that makes them feel more comfortable or give them the tools to better manage those feelings, you know, and not stimulate the negative ones. So it's very important for me to get someone that understands the process inside and out. You know, I know they say those who can't do teach. Yes, you don't have to be a bodybuilder to be a coach. There's many phenomenal coaches. I mean, best one in the world, Hani, doesn't necessarily compete right now, but he knows, right? And I know, for instance, based on what we've seen on the internet, Chris isn't comfortable all year round.
Absolutely.
Derek may not be comfortable year round. You know, all these athletes at the top of their game aren't comfortable all year round. And, you know, when it comes to bodybuilding, when you start, it's like that switch of body dysmorphia and, you know, questioning everything about yourself just is permanently on. Yeah,
man. It's definitely a very strange sport, like in the sense that when you're in an off season, it's like, oh man, I can't wait to prep again. I met up with Arnie, who's the president of the IBFF the other day, and he says to me, I sit down and he goes, "You're looking healthy." And then he rubs his face like this. I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying here. Yeah. So and that immediately made me think like, oh, when am I going to prep again? You know, I just want to be lean again.
Yeah.
And then when you're dieting, it's like, oh, I can't wait for the off season. I can't wait. I can remember just dreaming about eating more cream of rice.
Dude,
And now I just don't want to eat cream of rice.
I just don't want to eat anything. Like once I'm done, like after like dinner, I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like,
Bro, you posted something on your story the other day about all the recipes you saved during prep. Dude. And it's like, did I even make one of them? Nope.
None. And also, like, your mind is there to just play these tricks on you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your For You page or your Explore page immediately goes from like, Jack guys, I want to aspire to be like that. Slowly starts becoming like food,
macaroni, cheese, deep dish pizza.
You know? And you think that, this is what I need, But your body's just saying, listen, I'm hungry. And then you just need to manage that. And I think I saw a video, I don't know if you said it, that you need to stop. I think actually it was John Jewett as part of managing post-show binging.
I'll take it as a big compliment that you thought it could have been me.
It's one and the same. You're my John. In the sense that you need to don't have all that content on your phone.
Yeah.
Try not to stimulate yourself in that manner because that's all you're going to want. You're going to be fixated on trying to get all this food in after your show and then do what I did after my first year.
After your first show.
And just blow yourself up. It's terrible. And I think that's one very important thing to manage post-show.
Dude, I feel like invariably, I have worked with a couple of first-time competitors this year that didn't do that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but I think it's almost, I feel like it's almost invariable for it to happen to most first-timers. And I feel like a lot of people just have to do it and learn the lesson that way.
Yeah, I think I also think
I did it a few times and had to learn the lesson that way.
Really?
Oh, dude.
More than once.
The first time actually wasn't the worst. The first time I was still being coached by John Meadows.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think because I was a first timer, he just didn't push me as much as he had pushed somebody that was a little bit more seasoned. So I didn't finish that show feeling like, I was hungry, but I wasn't completely depleted.
Yeah.
And then my third, and same with the second show. And then the third show that I did, even though I did rebound more than I should have. But the third show, when I was with a coach whose name I shall not specify, who really, really ran me into the ground badly. This is a prep that I've told you about where I couldn't sleep, took like a mild sleeping pill to help me sleep, and woke up in the morning having like eaten everything in my kitchen, including the microwave, during the course of the night. I woke up with a bloated stomach and I was like,
are you serious?
The fuck? I was like, my stomach was caving in on itself the night before, and I woke up and I was like, how can I possibly be bloated? And I walked through the kitchen, there was just wrappers on the floor and empty jars of peanut butter, and I don't remember a thing of it.
It was like the hangover.
Yeah, but after that prep, dude, it was bad because I was young and I didn't have a lot of muscle, so I think I competed at like, I don't know, 72 kilograms or something. And I think in 2 weeks I was at 98.
What?
Yeah. Dude, I rebound hard.
Jeez, dude.
I rebound hard.
That's
that
impressive.
Taught me a lesson.
That's impressive.
I was like, never again. Never again.
Yeah. People underestimate the impact and how valuable that time is post-show for you to really kick off your improvement season. You don't really make those make the most of your insulin sensitivity and where your body's at that point. Because if you throw that all away, you're throwing away all the opportunity that comes with it.
Dude, exactly. Because you just have to resign yourself to the fact that building muscle, even enhanced, is a long-term process. Unless you're a freak of nature, you're not going to take 6 months off and put on 10 kilograms. It's 10 kilograms of muscle. It's just not going to happen. And everything that you do post-show, if you're moving into an improvement phase thereafter, is just about giving you enough time to put on the muscle that you need to. Anything that's going to detract you away from that is counterproductive. And the thing that detracts away from that the most is putting on too much fat too quickly.
Yeah. Especially, like you said, the whole objective, like during the improvement season, we want to minimize fat gain and maximize muscle gain, right? And I think it's very, very easy to think that the fat that you're putting on, the water retention, all of that is gains, it's muscle. Because you see the number on the scale ticking up. If that doesn't tell you that it's just water, glycogen,
Yeah.
you know, all of that.
Digestive load.
You know, all of those things, even a lack of sleep, you know, can really, really impact your weight. You just need to make sure that you're doing everything to the T, and you're going to maximize that growth.
Yeah.
You know, so
And then once at least once you've done a couple of good improvement phases, kind of between preps, you can then kind of use that data to give you a rough idea of what your rate of gain is.
Yeah.
So after we've done this and you've put on, how much is it now? 15?
16, yeah.
16 kilograms. Okay. So let's say the next time we get you absolutely shredded, you're 4 kilograms heavier.
Yeah.
Stage weight. That would be great, but the point that I'm trying to make is like whatever that number is, you can use that as kind of a measurement of, okay, if we do things the same way, same rate of gain per week, same rate of gain per month, then, 25% of my total weight accrual is muscle. And people probably hear that and go like, oh my God, that's so low. But like, no, that would actually be high.
It's a lot of muscle.
Yeah.
I think people underestimate how much everything else you put on versus the amount of muscle you put on.
Oh yeah.
Muscle is so difficult to put on. And I remember telling people, I'm really excited for next year. I really hope I've put on a kilo of muscle. And they're like,
What?
How many kilos? I'm like, what? I just need one in the right places, and I'll be good, So people really, really need to make sure that they're not just trying to reach a number on the scale and then be like, although I am glad I hit 90 kilos.
Listen, I understand. I completely understand the argument, and it's advice I give all the time of like, don't chase a number on the scale.
Yeah.
Whether you're dieting or whether you're gaining, don't chase a number on the scale.
Yeah.
But I think it's also nice to hit landmarks.
Yeah.
So in other words, if your next improvement phase, whenever that may be, maybe your landmark is 100 kilograms.
Yeah.
But doing it in the same way that we did this one, because it'll be very easy to get you to 100 kilograms.
Oh, I'm sure.
But if we get you to 100 kilograms under the same circumstances as we've run this improvement phase, well, you can say, you can use that same logic and go, okay, well, 10 kilograms more and under the same circumstances and generally around about 25% of my gains are actual lean tissue, then that's an extra 2 to 2.5 kilograms. Yeah. So that makes sense. But pushing up to that weight just for the sake of doing it definitely doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, we've seen it. And it's worked for some athletes. Back in the past, Lee Priest is known for going crazy on a bulk. So it's worked for some. But you're working in a space where you have a lot of genetic outliers.
Yes.
Like, don't use those people as your measuring stick. Just pretend you're in the middle of it and pretend you're average and in the middle ground so that you can, keep yourself nice and tidy.
Yeah, dude, that's a really really good point, because bodybuilding, and I say bodybuilding in a very generic sense here of like anybody trying to actively improve their physique through weight training and nutrition rather than just competitors. But I love how it's a lot more into the mainstream now. Not so much the competitive side of it. It's not like, Joe on the streets is watching the Olympia, but it is mainstream in the sense that 5 years ago, people that would never be seen in a gym are now there like recording their workouts and doing hip thrusts and squats and all that. And partially can be annoying when everybody's filming their workouts.
I get that.
But I think it's really cool that bodybuilding has become cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a lot of those people, their frame of reference for where they should be or their rate of progress or how they do things is on people that are genetic outliers. And I feel like bodybuilding is one of the only sports, if we can call it a sport, where people do that. Because I wouldn't pick up a tennis racket and Google how does Roger Federer train and then do that and be like, in 6 months be like,
I could be.
Why am I not as good as Roger Federer?
My backhand.
Fuck this, man. I'm giving this up. You know what I mean?
I feel you 100%. Yeah.
Because that is the mentality. A lot of people like do it for 6 months
And then think they're
and then they go,
elite.
okay, well, why?
Why is it not happening?
Yes, why? It's like, wow. We don't apply that to, nobody applies that to any other sport.
Yeah, it's really, because I think when I say the barrier to entry is low, and I'm speaking more specifically about men in this instance, because I feel like for women it's a lot more difficult in the sense that seeing a pump is not as prevalent.
Okay.
You know, when you're starting out, when you're a dude and you're 15 and you're training for the first time and you see a little bicep vein and you see, you know, your little peak going up and everything, you're like, ooh, it's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening, and it's going to happen like all at once very quickly. You know, when I first started, I was like, listen, 'cause I was in the Simeon Panda Ulysses, you know, when they were like mainstream and huge and everything, I was like, listen, in like 2 years, I'm going to be on that level.
Did you think that?
I really thought that. I was like, what, 15, 16? And I was like, listen,
Fair
guys,
enough, yeah.
don't worry about it, sweetheart. You know, I want to be jacked. I want to be big in the next 2 years. And then first of all, I didn't do what it took to be jacked and huge, even for myself at that level. And secondly, that is a crazy expectation to have because first of all, you're a kid. And secondly, they've been training for years, let alone all the other stuff they're probably doing. They've been training for years. So you just have to stay in your lane, trust the process, and make as many gains as possible. And that's all good.
Yeah, but the thing about bodybuilding as well is that the other people don't matter, really.
Yeah.
You know, if you're playing tennis and you want to be competitive or whatever the case is, I guess other people do matter. But bodybuilding wise, like really all you have to worry about is improving on yourself.
And you can see that.
And if you listen, if you want to compete and you have the potential to do it, if you're focusing on that, you'll get there anyway.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the potential to be like seriously competitive from a structural standpoint or like a genetic predisposition to build muscle, well, guess what? You can still be like a lot better than what you would be without it. So what's the point of like chasing an end outcome within a given time frame? You just need to improve.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do.
And I sort of feel like that's because I've had a lot of questions recently about when next I'm going to compete. Right. And for me, I'm always like, sort of going back to where we started. And for me, I'm just like, I'll see. You know, when it looks like I'm round about the level where when we pull everything back down, I'll look big enough to, you know, do what I want to do.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I'll be ready to. I'm not saying, listen, in the next 2 years, I'm going to be stepping on the Olympia stage or anything like that, or, you know, the Arnold Classic, America or whatever, Ohio or whatever. I'm just saying, because I've seen myself in an off season and how much I lose going into prep versus now knowing what I know and being at the level I'm at now, I know that I have to be significantly better so that when I come down, I'm significantly better.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, you make a really good point, which is not making assumptions about when you're going to compete now, because we don't actually know what you look like close to stage ready.
Yeah.
Because the advantage that you have is your structure and your frame, because you look big anyway. When you're standing on stage, I mean, you know this. You beat guys that were much bigger than you.
Yeah.
Much bigger than you, because your frame and your structure predisposes you towards that look. Okay? So the reality is that 3 kilograms might not be enough for somebody else, but 3 or 4 kilograms could be enough for you.
Yeah.
You know, and I would kind of want you to play around, you know, and do men's physique, for example, as well. Something that's fun that I think particularly you will enjoy because of the posing, just like a different challenge for you. Yeah, but also just, you know, see where you fit best. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I think classic is the one for you, definitely. But I wouldn't mind just seeing you do a couple of other things.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even know I was going to do classic bodybuilding.
Yeah.
You know, I thought from the jump, I actually first thought I'd be a men's physique athlete. You know, because I was like, I didn't know what my legs looked like. I didn't think my quads would look the way they did. So I was like, men's physique is the way. And then when I was like, nah, my legs actually look decent, I thought maybe classic physique.
Mm-hmm.
I was too small for classic physique. So I was like, so then classic bodybuilding became presented, and I was like, yep, that's a possibility. You know, I might have to wear a smaller little number, but
smaller little number.
It's a much smaller number, and
the ladies appreciated it, bro.
I mean, some other people too.
Can we have your number?
You know,
TK almost murdered a bitch that day.
That Arnold classic was crazy. So yeah, I think finding where you fit in. It's not you're not destined to be one thing or another.
Yeah,
your structure might just be better suited for something else. But ultimately, and I think this also lends itself to the whole road to pro story and all of that has been all over the internet lately, is that you're gonna be training and dieting regardless.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna be doing this regardless. So whether you turn pro today or turn pro tomorrow or next year or whatever, you're gonna be eating and dieting and training. I mean, doing all these things to help you get there nonetheless.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you're at the weight cap and you really need that extra weight that the pro league gives you. For the most part, I think most people are going to be grinding, doing exactly the same thing. So focus on being at that level as opposed to being rewarded for being at this level and then still have to work so much harder to get to a pro-worthy physique.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to do the work anyway. So I do understand what you're saying, but I also think for some people, turning pro could maybe change the game for them mentally.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, not for other people, but certain people. If you're like working to have a physique that's ready for the pro stage, but you might not be somebody who believes that you even have the ability to turn pro, at some point you could kind of give up on that. I mean, Paul was speaking last night, so I did a Pro Physique Code podcast last night, and he was speaking about a client of his like a couple of years ago who had done like a string of national shows.
Yeah.
And was like, you know, second call out. She did one where she placed like quite poorly. I think it was like 10th or 11th or something like that.
Yeah.
And she had a conversation with Paul and she was like, listen, I think maybe this isn't for me. You know, I'm going to call it a day.
Yeah.
And he was like, let's just do this one show.
Yeah.
Because I have a strategy. And all he did was get it a little bit more aggressive with a carb up, and he changed the side that she posed. And she ended up winning the overall and winning a pro card. And now she's competitive on the pro circuit. So it can change people's perception. It can change people's minds. I mean, as an example, and I'm not saying this is what's going to happen or even what I encourage to happen. If you were to turn pro as a men's physique athlete,
Yeah.
for me, that just goes, okay, that doesn't put pressure on us to have to compete like acutely.
Yeah.
Even if the goal in the long term is classic physique, the fact that you've achieved that now actually just gives us more time to work without any pressure. Maybe the case has changed for somebody like Wandy who's 22. It's like, dude, like
that guy also just,
you know, you have all the years in the world.
So annoying how good he is.
I know. And he's like, he puts so much pressure on himself to turn pro, and I'm like, dude,
I love it.
If I look like you did it at 22,
look, it's unreal. It's absolutely unreal. But I think I can relate to his way of thinking. Is that it's like all or nothing. You're gonna do absolutely everything you can and put it out there and see what happens.
Absolutely.
Right? And in failing, you're not gonna be like, I wasn't good enough per se. You're gonna say there's still more work to be done, and that's what the work I'm willing to do. I think in what I was trying to say in terms of like turning pro and, you know, the psychological shift that may transpire is that for me, I'm like, even as an amateur, my mind is set on like, I want to be great.
You're going to be doing the same shit.
Like, I need to be great no matter what I do. So I couldn't be bothered if I'm competing in IFBB, amateur IFBB shows, IFBB Elite Pro League, the NPC, the IFBB Pro League, whatever it is, you know, I am here to be the best version of myself and push myself. The sport will dictate who gets chosen on the day, but that doesn't mean that that person's going to beat me every time we come around. So wait for your moment, pick the right shows. I mean, anyone can pick the right shows and turn pro at some point, you know. It happens. But you need to make sure that psychologically, no one can infiltrate how you feel about your abilities and push towards being the best version of yourself.
Yeah, man. And timing is everything. Saw that with Ryan Terry winning the Olympia. Listen, dude, he brought an improved package.
Yeah.
100%. But the reality is, if he had brought that package last year, he wouldn't have won.
Yeah.
Because the criteria was different.
Not quite the same. Exactly.
The criteria was different.
Yeah.
If the criteria was the same as last year, then chances are Aaron Banks would have won again.
Yeah. You know, and that's the thing. Sometimes your path is like, you know what they say with dreams delayed or not dreams denied, is that you need to persist in what you're doing until you get to a point where you reach your goal. When fundamentally working with the human body, so at some point it's going to get to a point where I just can't keep my legs because I'm old.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're getting to a point where you're still making progress, you're still reaching the next level in your physique, then I think anything is possible.
Then the dream is always there. The goal is always there.
Always there. So you can literally grind day in and out, and just wait for that one opportunity where a judge sees you and just says, I just like the way he smiles today, man. And then puts you in first, you know.
Yeah.
Simple things like that, you know, can really, really change your perception of yourself and what you can achieve.
So what are your plans? Not that I know that there's nothing in concrete, because we would have spoken about that, obviously, and we would have planned that together.
Yeah.
But I think more from if you could write the script. If you could write the script, would you want another year off season, or would you want to compete in 2024?
I was literally thinking about that this morning, and I was like, do I want to, like, if we were to start a prep, it would have to be like mid-Jan, if we're going to do the Arnold Classic again and do what we want to do, right? But I think the improvements I would have made between May last year and April and May next year with Arnold, I'm not convinced it's going to be wow enough, you know. And
I would agree. I would think if you do compete next year, it should only be towards
the end of the
year.
Yeah, you know, as late as possible. And if not, I mean, like I said to you now, you know, I'd be a hypocrite to say otherwise. I would be more than happy to say, you know what, next year's a write-off.
Yeah.
Just keep grinding, keep doing what you're doing, keep improving, and then early in 2025, try and get back to it, you know. Or, you know, for instance, one of the local athletes, Guru, he was planning on having a full year off season, then looked at himself and said, you know, it looks like I might have made the improvements I want to make here, and is now prepping towards the latter part of this year. So I'm leaving nothing to chance in the sense that I'm going to be doing the work, but also I don't think I can state for a fact exactly what the plan is.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
So, I mean, the reason why I kind of have you on a mini cut at the moment is I want to see you a little bit leaner.
Yeah.
And I want to see how much of that size is tissue.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was discussing with Luke the other day was, number one, a needs analysis for a new client, but also kind of looking at improvements that an existing client has made after a push-up phase. And what he does will take, for example, if we were here, we would take maybe the last pro card winner in classic physique in the middle, and on either side of him, for each mandatory pose, we would put your stage shot from last year and then your current pictures.
Oh, snap.
And compare them like there were three different athletes. Wow. You're like, what criteria do you meet? Where do you beat this guy? Where does he beat you? Where do you beat old you?
What?
You know, yeah.
You know, guys, I'm gonna talk straight to the camera here. This is why Matt is the best. All right, straight up. Not as a friend, but as a coach. You know, as a friend, he's got room to improve. But as a coach, you are unreal, because I don't. Firstly, that's the type of stuff I do. You know, I love comparison. Data, there can never be too much data.
Yeah.
You know, and just hearing things like that makes me question, like, okay, so then, you know, what if we see something we like? You know,
yeah,
could I beat him in 4 out of the 8 mandatory, or 3 or
exactly
5 or whatever, and then be like, you know what, let's just gamble. You know,
like it could be like, hey, listen, my hamstrings haven't come up as much as everything else has, but everything else has improved so much to the point where I feel like that's the only thing he would beat me on.
That's,
you know,
very, very interesting.
Yeah,
that's very interesting. Yeah, and look, I do think overall, like as a package, I think I could get away with some stuff. You know, in the sense that, like, I know my hamstrings aren't where they need to be. My upper shelf and my delts aren't necessarily where they need to be.
I don't think that's true.
Okay.
I don't think that's true.
Hence the I, Matt.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Upper shelf, like upper chest, we'll see.
Yeah.
Because that is just something that tends to be really visibly hidden in a push-up phase.
Oh, yeah?
When body fat's a little bit higher. Like, I always think about that about myself. I'm always like, I have a weak chest, I need to build my upper chest. And then, like, when I hit a certain point, I'm like, oh no, that's like my best body part, you know. And your shoulders are very clearly quite dominant. So
oh, well, they've come up now. But
they have, yeah.
But yeah, I just I wonder, you know, what differences could be. Like, if I took the version of myself that was here in May and I added, say, 4 kilos to it, what look would that be?
See, it doesn't sound like it much, but dude, 4 kilos is a lot of tissue. 4 kilograms is a lot of tissue.
It's also like the amount of oats I eat in like 2 days. But yeah, we'll see. I'm just excited. Like, I couldn't ask for a better person to be guiding me on this journey. Like, not blowing smoke up your ass or anything like that. It's been everything we've done getting to this point has felt right, has felt justified, has felt like it's taking us to that next step, you know, and we're making strides in the right direction, and not wondering, you know, what if? Should we not be adding this? Should we not be doing this? Should we not be? Always received your plans and your feedback and everything and been like, cool, that's exactly what we need to do.
Well, dude, you know, like, I'm literally invested in your success fully.
Dude, I can't believe it's taken us this long.
I know. I know.
Like, and it's obviously it's my bad, because I just can't believe the amount of progress I've made, not just physically but psychologically in this game. You know, after the Arnold Classic, we spoke and I said, listen, if you had my life in your hands, what would you do? And that's literally how I feel. I feel like I can trust you wholeheartedly, and I can close my eyes, do the work, and then look up again, and the differences will be significant, you know. So I'm really looking forward to see what we can achieve, not just in the next year, but in the next like 5 years. See what we can do together.
It'll be unrecognizable, man.
Such fun.
It's always like, you know, important to realize, because it feels like I've been working with you for ages.
It does.
Because I also speak to you a lot, because you're also my friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, we've done one prep and one off season together, and that's it.
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be very...
Well, I guess like half an off season, and then a prep, and then a...
If you can even call it that.
Yeah.
It's like getting to know him. How I met my mother. Or how I met my Matthew. And yourself, what are your plans?
So dude, listen, it's contingent on, well, what I just said is a huge priority for me now is building this local team.
Yeah.
And that is more than just taking on athletes, because it's more about, I want to take on good athletes, but I want to take on good people.
Yeah.
Because I actually want it to be a team.
100%, yeah.
Like the vibe that we have when there are events and stuff, and it's people that I coach, but really it's just friends getting together. I want to be able to coach people where I can look them in the eye, like I just looked at you and said, I'm 100% invested in your success. I don't want to have that feeling of I'm a little bit dubious about you as a person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They represent you as well. As much as you're providing a service, as much as someone may be paying you to do something, I represent what you're putting into me as well. So if you're going to get people who half-ass things, who aren't a pleasure to be around, be like, how does Matt tolerate this person?
Yeah.
Is Matt also this type of person?
Yeah.
So,
but you see, I also want to be invested in the person.
100%.
It's not like, in theory, it's cool. I'll coach anyone, especially if they're a good athlete on paper.
Yeah.
But I want to be invested in you.
Yeah.
I want to feel like your wins are my wins. I want to feel excited when you send me a check-in. Like, fuck, I can't wait to see what's happened with Phet this week. That's how I want to feel. So building that team here is really, really important, and it takes time. So I have to take my own advice and not enter a prep if I don't have the time.
Okay. Yeah, because you work hard, man.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to be grinding myself into the ground fatigue wise, and I don't want to be neglecting my clients so that I can prep. Yeah. That's something that I would never do, because clients are number one priority. So if I can kind of streamline some processes within the next 2 months or so, then I would definitely look at competing next year, maybe middle of next year. Either way, I'm going to act like I'm going to. Yeah. Because regardless, come end of Jan, beginning of Feb, I want to enter a mini cut, because I'm like, dude, I'm sick of eating so much. I'm ready to get a little bit leaner, even if it doesn't lead to competition. Yeah. I'm just ready to get a little bit leaner. And I also want to see, well, what have I achieved in the last 15, 16 months?
Yeah, because it's been a while, man.
Since
you're lifting, actually. Yeah, it's been a while. That's really good to know.
Yeah, dude.
I think, I'm glad to see you also getting your flowers locally, because you've got lots of clients from abroad that you work with, and I think you're well known that side, that side of the water. So it's really good to see. But I think locally, it's really nice to see you getting airtime, getting people to watch your content. The content you're putting out is really, really awesome.
Oh, thanks, man. SJ Media.
Yeah.
Joel is the man.
So it's really good to see you growing in that sense, and seeing more and more athletes trusting you and believing in your process, because it speaks for itself. It really, really does.
Dude, sometimes the impression that I get is like local athletes fundamentally don't understand or believe what a good coach could do for them. Yeah. When I tell you I'm 100% invested in you, you know what that means. Somebody else doesn't know what that means until they've experienced it.
Yeah.
Like I will today, a client of mine that I'm like, dude, you're not tracking your steps. And he was like, bro, he's like, I'm saving up for a fitness tracker. I was like, no, you just have my Fitbit. There you go. Because you being able to track your steps is more important than me being able to track my steps. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Unreal.
Anyway, bro, this is a great chat.
Listen, I don't know if twice a month is going to be enough for me, eh?
We're just going to have to record our phone calls.
I'm like, give me more.
A Matt junkie.
Exactly. Give me. Success has been great so far.
Don't show me your vascularity.
Hey, you built this, bro.
Your off-season vascularity.
You're building this, bro.
Proud of my work.
Yeah, you should be. It's phenomenal.
Thank you so much. That was a very quick hour.
Yeah, didn't feel like it.
But we'll be doing it again, hopefully in about 2 weeks or so. And I was thinking, what about getting like Craig on? That'd be cool.
Let's do it, man.
because you guys both won your overalls in classic physique and classic bodybuilding.
Yeah, and at some point we're going to be going up against each other.
At some point you're going to be going up against each
It's
other.
time for me to trash talk, man. It's time for me to trash talk.
Yeah, man. Teammates and friends, it'll be great to have you guys on together.
It's going to be awesome. But really, thanks for having me, man. I really, really enjoyed this.
Like I said, view this as our podcast.
Yeah,
That's
let's
how I want
do
to think
it,
about
man.
it. Let's do it.
Yeah, the Matty Boom podcast featuring Phet.
I have to think of a name. I have a few rumblings of ideas.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what those are.
Okay, but shoot me some as well.
All right, we'll do.
Thank you, my brother. Good chat.
Much love.